So one more thing to sort of look at is one of the other reasons is that the software engineering space, and I know that this is going to get a lot of pushback, is I'm just going to say, man, it can be very, very, very toxic. The industry in general is just fine. It's just that there are some people that make it so incredibly sort of toxic that it does sort of resonate throughout. Now, part of the problem here is that in this industry, you're kind of sitting at your desk for the most part, right? You're not exactly communicating with people as often as you'd like to, and if you are, it's through chat. So when you finally talk to somebody and they're sort of standoffish or they're just kind of like assholes, it speaks to you more. Okay, so I'm telling you, man, like it's like I would say from all the places I've worked at, three of the reasons I quit was because of the toxic environment. Okay, and it's not like I'm not calling you guys snowflakes. I'm not saying you can't handle it. I mean, you're willing to take a stab at it if you'd like, but the part of the problem is that it's software engineering in general is sort of like an objective field, but the problem is people take a very subjective spin on it. And here, part of the problem is this: these are the list of I'm using the TOB index, right? So these are the list of like the top 20 programming languages, and this really changes. It goes up and down from time to time, but generally it does show trends. Okay, so I'll leave all these articles in the description here, but there's also an article here, and he describes as to what he came across with the whole toxic thing. It's on Medium. I'll leave that link down there too. Well, basically, so this TOB shows that these are all the things, right? I think, to be honest, I think Python's up here as number one, but that's fine. That's okay. So generally, if you look at the top 10, all of these languages, I can tell you Java, especially C#, JavaScript. My God, JavaScript. PHP, so R is used for like data science and things. Swift, Ruby. So a lot of these languages, specifically things like Java, C#, JavaScript, Python a little bit, PHP, and let's Ruby, and we can stop there, right? There's more obviously, but we can stop at those ones. They're the main ones. Those guys. So what happens is I worked at places where I've literally coded in almost all of these, with the exception of maybe C. So C++ and stuff I've done, right? The problem is when you experience, like, people take a subjective approach. Now, the whole point of software engineering is you don't fucking pick a language like because it's your favorite. You pick it for the job. Like if you're trying to build a website in a certain way, you can build it using PHP. If you're trying to do other things, you can do modular way through React or whatever, which is JavaScript, right? So these tools give you different ways to do things. You can't just be like, oh, I love JavaScript, so I'm going to do machine learning in JavaScript. It's my favorite language. It's stupid, okay? But that's what happens. Like, people take a very, very strong stance. Like I started off doing Java, then I went to C#. But when I went to C#, people used to make fun of the fact that I coded in Java, right? And I'm like, look, man, like I've surpassed all of those people's salary basically by triple. So for me, I'm already successful. I don't care about that. My only problem was that I took an agnostic approach. Like, people don't do that though. I'd say about 6 out of the 10 people you meet will have a favorite programming language, which is okay. But then they'll have such a strong stance that they'll almost judge you based on what you pick. Like in my current role, I built something using JavaScript just because it was fast when we're building the rest of it using Python, and they were very critical on it. They're like, well, why didn't you use C# or why didn't you use Python? And I'm like, well, I just wanted to do it fast, right? But yeah, so just keep that in mind. There's so many languages. People will definitely have preferences, and they'll force them on you, and it does get very toxic, like to a point where it becomes a social thing. Like, we're not, again, like, it's not a very social job, but at the same time, you get alienated based on dumb shit like this. Like, you get alienated based on, oh, like, this guy can't even write a line of code or whatever, and it's like they don't understand that you might just be starting off in the industry. They don't care, man. So like sometimes it's like that. Now, caveat, many people are fine, many people are really like smart and they're chill, right? But the ones that make it bad are really, really bad, and if you find a place like that, it's generally not really going to be that fun for you. So just a heads up. One of the other main issues, and this is like a huge topic of contention too, is schooling.
Which college or which university?
No, it's not. There's no need even to have a college degree.
Oh, wow, okay.
At all, or even
Okay.
high school. I mean, if somebody graduated from a great university, that may be an indication that they will be capable of great things, but it's not necessarily the case. You know, if you look at, say, people like Bill Gates or Larry Ellison, Steve Jobs, these guys didn't graduate from college.
All dropouts, yeah.
But if you had a chance to hire them, of course, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to do a video on this, like sort of a solo thing, because you can't just cover it in this one point. But let me just say this, like, there's a lot of rhetoric going around that you don't need school to do this.
But my question to you, I want to thank you for coming here. My question for you, do you think a bachelor's degree with your experience with college and everything, do you think a bachelor's degree is a necessary key to attaining success?
Ooh, I am not your role model on this one. Yeah, absolutely. Stay in school.
But then literally, like, in that same video.
Look. I think it helps. I loved the time that I spent in college. I wish I could have gotten more time. I did not choose to leave. I just happened to build Facebook, and it kind of made me leave. But if I had the opportunity to learn for 2 more years in college, I mean, college is this magical time, right, where you get to explore different interests and focus on different things, and meet great people. And that is not something that I would have wanted to have given up. And if I could have magically if I could have done Facebook in my senior year, I would have done that. Or after I left, I would have done that, and I wish I could have stayed in college. But, and of course, there's no doubt. I mean, there's a lot of research that shows that, you know, having a bachelor degree absolutely does help increase your job potential, your earnings potential, all that. So, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's kind of crazy for, you know, I'm not necessarily the best spokesperson for this message, but, like, unless there's a really, really good reason to leave college, you really should finish college.
Now, factually speaking, they're right. You don't need school to, like, do the shit, right? But realistically speaking, you definitely need school. Like, unless you're some kind of crazy expert that had a startup, you know, from the age of 15 and then sold it at age of, like, you know, at an adult age and became a millionaire, which at that point you don't need to work anyway, but you need school. So here's the thing, like, a lot of people follow these blindly into, like, you know, what Elon Musk and all these other people say about, like, how you shouldn't go to school, you don't need school and stuff, and take that, instead of what they're saying, take it into consideration. They look at it like, oh, I don't need school, like, I can just, like, look on YouTube and then I can get a job and be Elon Musk. That's bullshit. That's fucking stupid. You know, you really, really need to think about that. Like, a lot of the jobs I got after I got my degree. I did like a weird kind of schooling background, but yeah, just keep that in mind. Like, when I finished my degree, I got way more job offers and way more calls for interviews than when I had just had a simple diploma. And that's really just the truth. And I had the same skill set. Like, my degree wasn't even in CS. So, like, you know, picture that.